Hello again, my name is Nicholas Burns, and for my final project I decided to write on the post-millennialism of Jonathan Edwards. What makes this so interesting and this topic so interesting is part of which is I've long wanted to study eschatology and understand how we've come about these three major interpretations of the end times, which would be amillennialism, the belief that there is not a literal 1,000-year reign, but that the entire church age is the 1,000-year reign spoken of in Revelation 20. Premillennialism, which is largely what is believed in Baptist culture today, which is the belief that Christ comes at the beginning of the millennial age of the church, and postmillennialism, which is what Jonathan Edwards and many of his contemporaries believed, which is the belief that Christ will come at the end of a millennial age. And so what makes this particularly interesting is Edwards is really the first great or first well-known post-millennialist on the American continent. This is a belief that was fairly new to the late 16th and early 17th century. And what accompanied it was a great optimism of the future, that there would be missions movements and that there would be awakenings, and that would all eventually lead up to the millennial reign, of which the devil would be restrained and Christ would come back at the end of this time. What's interesting is that the legacy of Jonathan Edwards' postmillennialism actually led to a lot of the optimistic societies, the utopian societies, and it wasn't Edwards himself, nor was it necessarily his immediate proteges, but it was 2-3 generations down the road beyond Edwards that they began to take his optimism about the coming millennium and secularize it and turn it into utilitarian ideologies. And so what is interesting about this specifically is that most people look at Jonathan Edwards as this faithful, staunch, Puritan, conservative type, and he certainly has a long line going down to the best of our Reformed pastors today. In my last post I mentioned John Piper being one. But he also has a liberal legacy, which comes largely from his eschatology and from some of his proteges and their views on his eschatology. So I found this to be a fascinating study. I hope you all enjoyed your own studies. Thank you for your time.